Sometimes you get short-term dividends, sometimes long-term. Right now, we get the short-term impact of bringing in our friend Mark Feinsand right now. Sandy, less than 24 hours away until the trade deadline. This is obviously a very exciting time for all. Let's start with the trade that happened early this afternoon. And Josh Hader traded to the San Diego Padres. What did you make of the trade? Two current playoff contenders, and one of them willing to jettison Hader, for many the best closer in the game.
Yeah, the first big bomb of the day, Hader going to San Diego for Taylor Rogers, Dinelson Lamet, and a couple of prospects. Pretty decent prospects, too. I think for the Brewers, this was about looking ahead and saying Hader is going to make over $15 million next year. That's not a team that necessarily wanted to pay one reliever $15 million. Devin Williams has been outstanding. I don't think he's given up a run in about 3 months. They brought back Taylor Rogers, who has been a successful closer in his own right. He's struggled a little bit of late as well. Maybe Williams moves into the closer role. Rogers goes into the setup role, but they still have a 1-2 punch back there. And for the Padres, it's about improving that closer role. The Padres feel like a team that is really going all in this year, trying to make some noise in October, and bringing in arguably one of the 2 or 3 best relievers in the game certainly will help.
Yeah, maybe A.J. Preller is not done. More on that in a second. The Yankees added a bat last week, Andrew, but attending today, they had a couple of arms. We heard this for a while, that they were rumored in on Frankie Montas. They get him and Trevino. What did you make of the Yankees' moves today?
Yeah, as soon as Luis Castillo went to the Mariners, everybody sort of looked and said, well, the Yankees are going to go get Montas now, and they went and did it. And they gave up some good prospects, including one of their top pitching prospects, Ken Waldichuk, a lefty who is very highly regarded, played in the Futures game this year. But they get Montas, the guy they needed. They needed another big-time starter to go at the top of their rotation with Garrett Cole. I think they envisioned him as that number 2 starter. And then they went out. They got Lou Trevino in that deal as well. They also went out and got Scott Epros from the Cubs, who has quietly had a really good year. He's 28 years old, but he's got 5 years of control left. And I think the Yankees looked at him as sort of that replacement for Michael King, who was injured last week and is out for the year. So the Yankees came in needing an outfielder, a starter, and a reliever. They've gotten themselves an outfielder, a starter, and a couple of relievers. So Brian Cashman certainly filling the needs of the Yankees right now.
Yeah, strong word from Cashman. And you're right about Epros. He looks like he's a fun addition to that team, especially with King being out and Chad Green. Speculation last week, Trey Mancini may have played his last game in Baltimore, and that was proven true today. 3-team trade. It's interesting here, Sandy, because Baltimore's still in this thing. I know maybe not realistically, but according to the numbers, they're still hovering around 500, could push for a playoff spot. Trey Mancini is not a great defender, is a good bat, well-liked there. What's the motivation for all 3 teams here as Mancini leaves Charm City?
Well, for the Rays, they get Jose Siri. They needed a center fielder. They got their man. For the Orioles, I think, look, they are still technically in the race, and they could still be in the race. But I think Mike Elias and his front office understand that they're a little bit ahead of schedule. Nobody expected the Orioles to be in a playoff hunt this year. Mancini is going to be a free agent. He has a mutual option. Those are always declined by one side or the other. So he's going to be a free agent. And as much as Trey Mancini means to that fan base and to that clubhouse, the opportunity to get a couple young pitching prospects, including Seth Johnson from the Rays. He's the number 6 prospect. He's going to have Tommy John surgery this week, so he's going to be out next year, but he's a very high-end pitching prospect. And to be able to get a guy like that, for an expiring contract, certainly, is a good move for Mike Elias. And for the Astros, they've struggled at first base all year. Their OPS at the positions, the bottom 5 in the league. Trey Mancini will help them at first base.
Yeah, excellent point. For a Houston offense, you feel like it's loaded. That really does fill a deficiency. And finally, the big name of the trade deadline is Juan Soto. We keep hearing these same names being bandied about, whether it's the Padres, the Dodgers, the Cardinals. What's the latest? And will he even be traded by this time tomorrow?
Well, I think the last question is the biggest question, is will he be traded? Little under 24 hours left. Everybody that I've spoken to today is skeptical that he's going to get traded unless the Padres are the team that steps up and just goes all in. We talked about A.J. Preller before, went out and got Josh Hader. He's certainly been aggressive. He knows that catching the Dodgers might not be possible, but get to October with another bat like Juan Soto in your lineup and anything can happen. So the Padres are, I think, the team to watch here in the next 24 hours, but I think it's just as likely that Soto stays on the Nationals and this becomes the main story of the offseason.
Mark Feinsand, noted author, insider, and collector of baseballs and bobbleheads, as you can judge by his backdrop. Thanks for the time, man.